want to bring up what you did, Eric, and for Sam?
Yeah, it's hard to talk about actually. I think I asked Steve basically about like trying to condense emergence into like a counseling theory book, right? Like a watered down sort of this is what emergence is, this is how it's based in different theories. We were talking about statistics, that's another part of this, and whether or not that's of any value. Because in my mind, I feel like if somebody, reads about Steve in a book and it's just like some real low level basic stuff.
Which that happens all the time. Like my theories book was like 3.5 pages for psychoanalysis, like 3.5 pages for. I mean, they just really do. I mean, those exist of every theorist. I mean, if emergence became famous, like whether we wanted it, that would happen. I mean, that's the crazy part. You can't. It's not like Freud's like you can't do this. It's like that should they just do it.
Okay, let
So,
me stop because I really want to post this if this goes well. Because Eric, this is probably, leave it to you. This is probably one of the most basic things to address of all, which I hadn't thought about.
Hmm.
The next basics is supposed to be what I hate about teaching. This is what I hate about teaching. Not you,
okay.
Eric. You are
Well,
raising
spoiler alert.
something that is so important that I couldn't stop thinking about it. Not about defending it or having an answer, but your question is at the heart of what makes emergence different, more than any other question I could think of. The question has been asked to me again and again. It was asked after the first book by some people, the first people that read the book, some family members or friends of the first editor. And they asked, can't you simplify this? Right. And you're saying something about that's done with every
That
therapy
doesn't mean it. That
personality
doesn't mean it
theory.
can be simplified, but it's done. Whether it can or can't, it's done to the
Okay,
theories,
but I want
regardless.
to pause with that, Sam, because while you're right, this has been done with every other theory. I claim to Eric that it can't be done with emergence. So now this is what we're starting with as a question. And I don't know how to phrase it simple enough, but the point is that I am going to claim it can't be done. And I want to take that position, and the two of you can, this is just for the three of us to talk it out as three intelligent men, because I am open to, well, maybe there are things there that I've never thought of. But I've spent a good part of yesterday thinking about trying yet again. And I can't, I've come up with some things that every single one says, no, it's not possible. But I want to talk about it because you two can phrase this in ways that I won't think of. So the phrase water it down, I'm not, there's no blinking, but water it down is probably the phrase that, like,
So
is on
there's no
one
good
side of the,
connotation to that
it's on
phrase.
the one side of the question. And realize this is being asked as a question. I'm not trying to um, um, deliberately um, get rid of the question. I'm literally bringing the question up with the two of you because the two of you probably are two of the people who could address this the best. If I asked Maria, can we water this down? I think she'd probably have one of those like internal meltdown things like what?
I mean, this is the thing. I guess I'm starting from a really literal place because I can, but like can and
Let's
can't. So like if I take, so I can picture my theories textbook. It's brown and it's not that long. And I think if every single theorist that was in there, Fritz Perl, you know, Carl Jung. Well, I know for a fact Carl Jung would say that even though they did it, meaning there's a Jungian section, he would say you can't do it because he was asked a million times to water his shit down and refused every single time
okay.
and would
Wait,
never
wait.
simplify.
Okay, this is a good start.
But I
What,
mean, they
what
technically
what
did it
kind
if
of
you want to be
things
like.
did he say?
I mean, they said your work's too complicated. Can you please write it in a simpler form? And he would go, no, I won't do it. And he never did. He never did.
So he refused.
He refused because he felt like I don't know if it's any similar thing to you, but he refused to do it. And I'm pretty sure Rogers, Fritz Perl would all hate the condensed thing that's in the theories book. I'm
Okay,
pretty sure. But they did do it. I mean, they can do
okay.
it in a technical sense.
It's been done.
It's
Doesn't
been
say
done.
they did it.
No, no, they didn't do it. No, it's
Well,
done
Rogers
without their
Rogers
approval.
did. Rogers did that. He
Okay.
did
Well,
like a
uh,
small. He wrote a small encyclopedia of
Oh,
his
okay.
work in a
Okay. That's interesting.
that I've read a
But
few times.
you can't do that for psychoanalysis couldn't do that.
okay.
Interpretation of
Let's
dreams
just
is like this.
instead of making it specific things, just the general idea of here's Young who said I can't and I won't.
Yeah, it won't. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Let's. I would if I if okay. It. I am saying I have tried since for 30 years to simplify what I write. And I have to some degree simplified some of the more difficult ideas in the first book as I go along. I have, in some ways, Eric, absolutely watered it down. When I wrote the diagnostic manual, I wrote so many pieces of um, things that are in other books that are denser and wrote it down in a way that it was more practical. How do you use this to diagnose? And as I wrote it, what happened? Well, it's fractal. Therefore, it's infinitely dense. So breaking down leads to more complexity. Every attempt to break it down leads to more complexity because it's not linear, it's fractal. Every attempt to break down a candle flame into something that's simple will fail.
So you're basically saying it can't be done well, though.
No, I'm saying it can't be done and have anything left that changes a life.
That's what I
Period.
mean. Well. I mean, that's what I
No,
mean.
well
Well.
is not it. I am saying that it can't be done at all and it actually achieves the opposite. The
Well, I
minute
would.
you water it down, it guarantees it will not change a life.
Yeah, well, I would argue that's true of the stuff I read in the textbooks. Like my life wasn't changed by reading the section in the tech, any of the sections. But I guess this is the benefit is that because the section in the textbook exists, I heard of this person, and then I went and actually looked at their shit, and then I was changed by some of the shit I read. But the person had to be famous enough to get into this fucking book.
That's
Uh,
correct, Sam. But
so
I
it's a
want
little
you
bit
to
of a
think about this. Do you realize most of the criticisms of Freud are because people don't
read the
understand
textbook.
what he did?
Yeah.
Because they
I
have
mean,
made these books?
I agree. I mean, I think most people just leave it at the book and they don't go like read Civilization and its
So,
discontent or whatever, you
so
know.
let's start with point number one that you have made, or it seems to have been made. Point number one. They don't get into the textbook unless they're famous.
That's right.
They don't get famous unless they've watered it down.
It's
And
true.
in the cases of anything fractal, this is like going to the Walmart and buying an electric candle flame and claiming you're going to get the same mood from it.
But it might make you want to buy a real candle flame.
Or, more likely, Sam, it would make you not want to have candles because they look so shitty.
Hmm. I guess
Now,
I can't separate it from my mind.
I know you can't, but I'm trying, but this is
No,
the
that didn't happen
point
to
of
me.
this conversation.
I don't know. I'm thinking about the Zen koan.
It is, Eric, it's exactly that. But what I'm trying to do is give you an actual reason, not a reason, but a natural point. There is no way to condense the idea of fractals.
Yeah,
Even Mandelbrot, who coined the word, couldn't convince the world of its importance. If
Yeah, I mean,
fractals, no, pause, if fractals, natural patterns, what I call natural patterns, if natural patterns were something that could be taught, why is it that the world remains convinced that linearity, things that exist in reasonable straight lines, whether words or things, are the truth? Why? When in fact, no natural thing occurs in a straight line. That means not just physically, it means mentally. No natural thought of the mind occurs in a straight line. None. So the world has refused to see the value in fractals, no matter how many people write books, no matter what somebody talks about it. It's been relegated to a thing that says, well, look, these are unusual drawings. If you zoom in, they continue to have more depth. And everything in emergence is fractal.
mhm. Yeah.
This doesn't mean this is the only point, Eric.
no, but these are all things that I got into this like heated conversation with my wife about this yesterday. And the two things I brought up, one verbally, one just stayed in my head. The verbal one was how similar this is to what happened in the Zen community.
Yes.
And
And
that
it's not, and this is, Eric, you are hitting something that you didn't talk about on Saturday,
Mhm.
but you see the fight that you're having in your head. I respect you for this because you're having a genuine, necessary fight in your head about this. It's necessary because this question is going to come up again and again long after I'm gone. Why can't it be simplified? More people would benefit. And you are hitting something immediately, which is that this is connected to spiritual communities. There is some commonality. It's not the same. It is some commonality to things that are taught that are spiritual.
Mm.
yeah, and then what I then thought after what you said about like the line and you were talking about Maria and Sam and sort of like the changes that have happened in them and what I thought of is what you're bringing up right now is like this it's really just the way the fractals get embedded and
Yes,
there's
yes, Eric.
there's no way to really implant fractals, right? Like like
So
Okay.
this is not to
Mhm.
discourage you, Sam, from writing a comparative thing between therapies that exist and emergence. That's not, I just want you to hear
I
that
don't.
that's not the point. What I'm trying
No,
to
I
say,
know you're asking me to play devil's advocate, and I'm trying to do my best, but I have my own thoughts that are not. I mean, just me playing devil's advocate. I mean, my truest thoughts about emergence is the best way that I think you could bring it down in a condensed way is like literally if I took an hour session that I did and showed the world that, I think that would draw so much more appeal than if I force myself to write a condensed textbook version of emergence. I mean, that's I feel like the best sell. And I know that from graduate school, from playing my tapes for people, that seemed to make them the most interested in about what are you doing? Like, how did you think to ask that? That where if I wrote a condensed version, I could force myself to do it, write an elevator thing, but it wouldn't. I don't think it would draw people in like a session would.
So now, okay, this is a second point, which is excellent. I have thrown myself into doing these videos.
Yeah.
This is a desperate move on my part to leave behind enough that this doesn't die.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like, who was he, right? So I agree 100% with what you said, Sam. It's a really good
Mhm.
point that the videos show something that no amount of words will ever show. I agree with
Also,
them.
one thing everyone remembers from graduate school is those fucking videos of that woman seeing Rogers, seeing Pearl. That's like the thing that everyone remembers. The literal sessions.
So now, remember what the question is, though.
Right.
The question is, can this be watered down? And the question itself, I don't want to forget it because what we just did is, well, we can offer this in a more accessible way. The videos are a really good way to give access to what this is like. So that point is really important. It's very important because that means there is some way to do this.
Mhm.
But the question Erik has raised, to me, I see this as this question needs to be a basic question that's raised because this question then points to why you're going to be attacked for trying to claim that emergence is anything. This question says something that's not just avoidance. And what you're saying, Erik, is okay. Hannah, I brought this up with Hannah yesterday. And typical Hannah, I mean, you'll never be a devil's advocate like her, Sam. There is
No, I don't. No, I won't.
Hannah is the world's best devil's advocate when in the mood.
When in the
You can turn it on.
Yeah, if someone asked me to do it, I'll
No,
use my
no,
my theoretical mind to.
right. But it's really, yeah.
I don't go to that naturally. I don't think.
So this is what I brought up that you brought up Carl Rogers and that he was in the textbook. And you know what she said?
Wait, are you talking about Eric, or you brought up what Eric said? Okay,
Erik said to Hannah, and about watering it down, and that Erik had raised the idea that people write about Carl Rogers.
they do.
Hannah said, Carl Rogers said it can't be watered down. And if you were to read what he wrote, it is just as difficult to understand as Jung. Hannah said, have you ever actually read Carl Jung's? Read, not looked at the
Oh,
video.
you're talking about Carl Jung, not Carl
No,
Rogers.
Carl
Okay.
Rogers, excuse me. No.
Oh,
Have
oh,
you
okay.
ever actually read Carl Rogers' writings?
Me?
Any,
Yeah, I've read all. I think I've read all of his books. I think.
and there's nothing watered down there. It's complicated as hell because it's fractal. Now, he's not
Well,
teaching theory, but he's talking about his work and it's fractal. Have you ever seen somebody who can do what Carl Rogers did? No,
no, not really. I mean,
no,
not that style. No.
no one, no one.
Nah, his style's crazy. I mean, I've also read a book of his sessions, the transcripts of his sessions.
Yeah,
They're absurd. It'll be like 15-minute therapeutic silence. Like literally, like I've never seen anybody do that.
but if you watch the video, the 15 minutes is
Oh,
extraordinary.
it's so
So
pure.
then that begins to point to the thing that you were talking about, the Zen community, Erik. If the 15 minutes can't be put on a page, but if you watch the video, the 15 minutes has an effect on people. Now you're left with this distance between what could be put into words in any form and what he actually did which is visible on a video. Because what he actually did is far more than what you can see on the video. Because we can't see into his mind, because it's invisible. He's not giving some kind of dialogue as he's doing it. But between words and moving to a video, there's this huge difference.
I have another problem, which maybe is not for this video, but it is a serious. It is one of the craziest hells, which is that I do emergence, and people, it's very meaningful, right? My practice is full. I get a million referrals. But if I start claiming that the reason if I start teaching the literal people I'm doing emergence or claiming that this is what is going on, probably 95% will glaze over and not be interested. But they want to receive the therapy. They're all coming for like 200. I'm like 200 sessions in with like 40 of my 50 people, probably. No one seems to quit. But if I start teaching them literal fractals, they're gone. So
Okay, so this is something I raised with Erik on Saturday. Not what you just said, but I raised something about this on Saturday. You're talking about
is this practical versus the real, like versus
no,
theory or
what you're
something? Or
saying, Sam, is 100% true. I want you to hear how, and for somebody watching the video 50 years from now, this is important. What you just said, Sam, is true. You can change lives over and over and over again. Your practice is filled to the point where Hannah has expressed concern that you're overworking numerous times, Sam, because she cares
I'm
about you.
doing better now, though. I really am doing
Oh,
better
okay,
because
but
I'm never going to take anyone
okay,
again.
no, but don't go to that subject. What I'm
Okay,
saying is, here you are, you're way overworked. You have so many people that are coming to you.
right.
You're changing lives. This is the whole point of emergence. You're changing lives over and over and over again. Yet the minute that you try and explain to them what you did, it's reduced to watered down versions of what's already in textbooks. That's the harm that watering down textbooks does. All those people can't see what you do, Sam, because they think they already know what you do, because they look at the watered down versions of anything in a textbook and they think, oh, Sam's doing that, but he's doing it better.
Yeah, I've heard all manner of explanations that are just,
Me too.
uh, yeah,
Me
everything
too.
from like it's because I'm a man to, I mean, yeah, everything, everything.
Everything. The worst one that I ever got was years ago. Um, my first emergence group was a peer supervision group. That's where it started, a long time ago. And one of the people in the group was the son of a very famous movie and television star, very famous, and um, character type one, um, almost unbearably. And when I tried to tell him something, just the simplest thing to me, about how startles are the root cause of trauma, um, he screamed at me. And I said, so what is it? What is it that I do? He wouldn't respond with what I do. He couldn't explain it because I had changed his life. But he said to me that he wasn't going to have anything to do with a person who thought that they were Jesus.
Oh God,
So he heard me claiming that because I knew something that he didn't know, more than that, because it changed his life, that I was just acting like I was the Messiah.
I just love thinking of Clancy, of me saying I'm the Messiah, Clancy. Just,
But again, these are things that will be said, and not just about me. Eric, I have tried to say in the first basics video that we posted, when you came in so troubled, it's as if that first one, this may be the fourth one that we do, you're getting at the heart and soul of the trouble, Eric. I told you, and I have said it to everybody, if you take this on, you are going to suffer. People are going to hate you. Just for this. And think of what I'm saying. You have a way to help change people's lives that isn't the same as other things. But it can't be put into words without the experience. No experience, no emergence. Why? I tried almost a year ago in a monthly seminar to say emergence is a spiritual practice. Well, why? Well, how can I claim that? It's not a spiritual group. It is spirituality, but it's not like Buddhism or something like that. It's not claiming anything like that. I'm actually claiming that very few people can ever learn this. I'm not claiming that anybody can. This is the least commercial thing you could ever possibly do. Yet, in your case, Sam, you're the
I can't even get it into the people that are enjoying it.
you can't even get it into people who want to learn it because why? And this question comes up. So I could say, because this is what I thought all day yesterday, Eric, in response to this, well, when I write about emergence, the word, in my earliest writings in the 90s, I equate it to other words, an aha, right? Sudden realization. But one of the words that's most important is the word epiphany. Epiphany. Because that's associated with spiritual practices. And that's what we're doing. That means epiphany is about personality. Epiphany is about like the cause of arguments being scene versus story. Like this is something that's measurable. All of the things we do are measurable directly. Yet that doesn't matter. You
Mhm.
can't teach epiphanies.
It's funny, I just talked about this yesterday. I'm gonna talk very vaguely about this in a session, but I have a person that comes on every week and then they say, I had an aha about this thing. And yesterday for the first time I said, do you think that everybody can actually notice when they have an aha? And that gave her an aha. And we talked about that for a long time. And she went into shock. She said, people don't know when they have ahas. She didn't know. Very interesting conversation.
And I would say that okay, it, we have some time, but this idea is much deeper than we could possibly get in 2 hours, Eric. But the troubling things that you have in your mind, can you imagine what it's been like for me? To be unable to try again and again to explain. My first 2 or 3 years, I thought people could just see it. I went around and did emergence on most of the people in the area here who were heads of hospitals, rehab, and so on. I did emergence on them. Not one of them said, could you teach me how to do that? Their lives were changed. I mean, and this is, I hear people could diminish the claim I'm making right now. No, no. But just even claiming that they had an epiphany about an aspect of their life, then what happens? I mean, this is something that you could probably write a hell of a book about, Eric, that would be of use. Why can't people remember their epiphanies? And I can tell you why. Why can't you remember it? Well, start out with they can't speak about how it happened. Why not? Because it's simply an emergence, a bifurcation, an unpredictable, non-linear change where something that didn't exist before now exists. Two gases, hydrogen and oxygen. They're gases. You put them together. I ask people, what happens when you put them together? They say water. That's not what emerges. What emerges is wetness. No human being, no one could predict that wetness would emerge from gases. No gas has wetness. It's an emergent property, period. Things changing from liquid to gaseous to solid forms, that happens with many things. But wetness emerges. How? There will be no person who can say why. All you can say is that the natural, if you do this, this quality emerges. And gases are much simpler than a human mind. But there is no way to predict, let alone write down a simple step thing to have wetness emerge from two things that don't have any wetness. That's an example of what we do. So, one thing I spoke about with Erik yesterday, Sam, is the idea that the things that I have discovered, um, when spoken about, the mind erases the memory of it within a minute or two. The mind erases it. I have had these talks recently with Hannah and Maria about this. And why is it, Sam, that you can retain things like,
Some things, because the mind, for as far as ahas go, I I know I've had a million ahas, but I probably have forgotten 85% of the ahas ever.
okay, and I'm going to say you never made a memory of them.
Right. Okay, that's more
But
precise. Yeah.
but this is important. Um, okay, can you think of an aha you've had, Erik?
Not at this moment.
Think of it. Watch this.
I
Can
get
you
it, Eric.
remember? Can
I've
you?
had that
That,
experience before.
and this is important. This is not you not trying. This is not you uninterested. This is not, you are educated in this. You have invested many years of your life in learning this. Not one of your efforts has been, false or half-ass. No.
Fuck no.
No, if anything, Erik, you are so dedicated to trying to understand this that it's immeasurable. And yet here
Yeah,
I ask
It's
you,
like John, just the
I ask
it's
you
just
the question that is, can you remember when that's happened to you and your mind empties? Just notice that. Don't fight it. Just notice that. So the evidence that you've even had emergences, your mind, it's gone.
right now.
Okay, what do you mean by right now, Sam?
Meaning I have a thought in my head, two that are one. If you go to me and start asking me and we take it away from him, and I start talking about ahas I have, will he then remember one of his?
He will, momentarily. But should I then ask him 20 minutes later, he may remember the words, but he won't remember the aha. He may be able to say, this change happened. I learned this. But he will not be able to say what he was like before that and what he was like after that. It's not possible.
Hmm.
In other words, in order to see a change, you have to see a before and after. Doesn't have to be linear. It just has to be a
I
change.
understand. I understand. I mean, I understand. I had an aha yesterday about my client that she remembers ahas. I had that aha when I was with her. I never realized that she remembered them. I took it for granted that she said that phrase and it actually referred to an accurate thing about her having an aha. It wasn't like an empty thing. Every time she refers to it, it was one of these before and after things. And yeah, but then I had an aha about her. And now I'll always remember that she's a person that that says I remembers our house, which is bizarre. I
But
don't know if I have
Sam,
anybody else like that.
I want you to see, do you think Eric is trying any less than you about being able to understand this? If
No,
anything, I think he's trying harder.
I'm not sure about that, but it's
No, but I'll tell you why I think that. I think there
Eric.
may
I like
be,
that that made you smile.
no, I think there may be like 3 or 4 people that actually can do what you can do, Sam, that I have met in my whole life.
Yeah, and I know that I get that. I'm not sure about that. I'll need so much more data to agree with that. But it's
Sure.
I
Well,
mean you put on my radar 8 seconds ago, so
hi. But I know that you can retain more than it's a there's a clear difference, and Maria as well, and Hannah as well. And I know that people believe that emergence is real as far as that there's a value. I know that Eric does. I know that Tom does. I know that Clancy does. I know that people believe that emergence is real. But imagine then somebody says, well, what is it? Nothing. And Sam, you're not, you are able to remember some of the ahas you have.
yeah, some of them.
Right. That is that I would claim, well, let me now make this point. I'm going to claim that the degree to which you believe it's true is the degree to which you can, with ease, recall
Mhm.
emergences. And now recall is not just recalling the change, it's recalling the scene in which it occurred. And this is what you are doing, Sam, that is so important. You're remembering a client, you're remembering the scene, you're remembering how she came in, you're remembering her telling you that she had an aha. You spontaneously, this is important,
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't
organically
see it coming.
You organically asked her a question that hadn't occurred to you. You had an aha about the question. It didn't come from logic. It didn't come from something written. It didn't come from anything I ever said. It organically came to you, and you have had an aha that she can't, she can't, do you think people can tell?
Yeah, well, it was interesting because she first pushed. She was like, she didn't understand what the fuck I was talking about. And then I said, how
That's
I said,
critical. That's critical. And Sam, but think about the evidence for why. The evidence is clear. You haven't thought about that. And where's my
right,
evidence? Because you had an aha. You had a
right,
pleasant surprise that you hadn't thought about that question.
yeah, I
That the
had not thought about
question itself was an emergence in you, Sam.
it.
The question then leads to, wow, if the word emergence is the label for all this work, and people can never remember the scene. People can recall if I remind them, Eric, if I remind you of your first grade teacher and you were mad at me and it was on a phone call. Can you remember that? What do you remember you learned? And just be easy on yourself. What you pleasant surprise, notice the face. What did you learn?
I mean, there's a lot of things I feel flooding in. You know, like I
Just
remember
let
where I
yourself
was.
speak, Eric.
I
You
remember where I was. I
ah
remember
ah ah ah.
um I was I remember like feeling like vindicated in a way. Um I remember like I think the surprise really came from thinking that this woman wasn't right for the first time. And I don't know that I actually fully got to the point where I know she's not right, but it was the beginning of the first time,
Possibility.
the possibility that she was wrong about me, that I wasn't a fuck up compared to this other kid. And
Okay, so let me ask you just some few questions. First, does it occur to you that here, I believe, knowing you for a decade, that that challenge to me was a life-changing experience for you, that it was, you were seeing me like a teacher. You were mad at me when you got on. You were somewhat apologetic. You did it very respectfully. We had a fight, but it was a fight of two healthy people. It was not no whatever, hurling curses or accusations, but you were mad at me. And to some degree, you were blaming me. Whatever, that just is. It's natural. You were reliving an injury. I can picture where I was. Um, but I can recall your tone of voice. You were very young. You were regressed. Um, I had no idea what was happening to you when we got on. And you had some degree of certainty. You knew that there was something, and somehow it was connected to me, which is true. That's true. I was provoking this painful experience of yours about learning, about teaching, about being a student. The difference is that this is something that I can do at will. I don't know how. And I'm not claiming I remember most of the things. There are tens of thousands of emergencies I've given people. I only remember less than 1%.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, like, yeah, like that I'm happy to remember some, but that, like, I was thinking about, I don't know why I was thinking about this, but I was thinking about emergences, about people, about who people are, not a fractal. I just mean like some, and I was thinking about that when it's the first emergence I can remember with Eric, because there's so many things I liked about Eric, but there was this particular memory that's so similar to the one you're sharing, where Eric was set off by something about something related to you, Steve. I can't remember. But Eric went back and read the entire email history of every email that you'd ever sent to him or something like that. And just had like all these ahas all on his own, no unprompted. No one was suggesting it, nothing. And that gave me an aha about Eric. It was like, I don't know what the aha even is. I can't
Can you
verbalize it
see?
into
I'm welling
words.
up with tears. Can you see that's who Eric is?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's an emergence
So
about his
now ask
character.
yourself this question. If Eric is struggling to be able to figure out how to teach this or give it to a single soul on earth, and he's so sincere and he's so willing to do all this work, isn't that some indicator of how this is a spiritual experience can't be taught?
Yeah, yeah, that piece of Eric's personality, I don't know how you could teach somebody to do that. To
But what
be
I'm saying,
upset and
even
then go
with
and look
that,
for the truth, like, how do
yes,
you teach that?
but even with that, Sam, in some ways, Eric knows it's true and yet asks what happened. There can't be a person who would make more effort than Eric. That's what I'm saying. And yet, this is going to be watered down and it's going to do any good. No, it actually will do harm because all of those people who think they understand something stop looking. You're giving people door number 7 about something that, it but
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to write a short portion of a textbook, I would just write that story about Eric, that he got set off and then he read all the fucking emails and this, and if you're like that, then you should look up this book by and
but at this
yeah.
point, I want to bring back the thing you said, Sam,
Right.
that
About the video, you mean?
a
Yeah.
video can give somebody an aha in a way that we can't write down why. I can say it's
No.
visual. I can say it's spiritual. I can say that seeing the people offers so much more information than mere words.
Yeah, the
I can,
possibilities are high, but they're still probably watching, think these three fucking people think they're Jesus. They're fucking arrogant pieces of
no,
shit.
the truth is anybody looking at Eric sees he's suffering.
Oh
Anybody
God,
who is look at
anyone
me,
that's human, yeah.
and anybody who is looking at me sees, like I have now spent 30 years trying to find a way to do the thing you're saying, Eric, and I have failed. What I have done is I have written what amount to textbooks that I hope that somebody will benefit from after I'm dead. I hope that I have lived and made some difference in lives past my own lifetime. I want that. But do I think that this is some kind of a movement that will change the world? No. And I could sob by saying that, but no. No. Can I think that people can benefit from this? Literally hundreds of people have benefited because if I change a person's life, that person then changes lives because they've become different. They don't have to teach why. They affect other lives. It's like a kind of human nuclear reaction where once it starts, it moves out. But can that be explained? No. Because at its core, an emergence is largely a spiritual experience. It cannot be predicted. I can't predict it. All I say is that I can up the odds that someone will have an aha. When I spoke to you on that phone call, Eric, which is some years ago now, I did deliberately do things. I asked certain kinds of questions, etc., right? But if you had said at the beginning, do you think you're going to give Eric an aha? I probably would have said, I don't think so. We were both surprised by the effect of that. I can prove mine because I still have the surprise about it, but to this day I'm surprised about what a big deal that particular call was.
Hmm.
I'm not, I mean, the thing I'm stuck on right now is, we're talking about Rogers, and the one Rogers article that like changed my life
Yes.
is the one that he is most cited from, which is his the conditions for sufficient change,
Okay.
right? And it's when you look at that article, it's almost inaccessible in a way, and but there's like it's like postulates. It's not. It's like these are the questions that I feel I've found that could lead somebody to have an experience, and that's where I'm stuck right now because I'm saying like yes, I don't think you can give someone what you did with me on the phone, right? That's like impossible to give. But I don't know if some of the theory, because that's real world, right? That's like the real world
Yeah.
practice.
Yes, Eric. Watch this. We can keep going, and I know I'm interrupting, but so I can say with confidence that were you to have trouble I can say with confidence that Sam and Maria could do as well as I could with you. Not even knowing anything about the situation when they start, Sam and Maria could do as well as I can with you. Now, I want you to hear the last two words, with you.
With you.
What you don't see, Erik, which is what I was trying to say to you and Tom on Saturday, is you're taking your experience
Yeah.
and saying, well, any person who tries could have this. Erik, I'm saying to you, I don't know anybody who could try harder than you and not end up in a hospital. Is that, and then you have to ask, is that what it's required to be able to see this? No coincidence, Sam and I both ended up in hospitals, and Maria has asked, do I need to end up in a hospital? It's a miracle that, that didn't break us. But it's also the idea that, for me, certainly, all of that was a spiritual experience, which was lasted almost 2 decades of, and I came out the other side. So I wouldn't wish that on anybody. This is not me saying I am better than people, or this is not elitist. This is compassion and saying, oh my God, what does a person have to do to learn, for instance, to do this as a therapy? Right. Sam, I raised something with Erik, which I'm sure
This is yesterday?
I raised something about therapy because the beginning of emergence has a beginning in therapy. That's the beginning. Before there was any personality theory, before the math, before any of those other things, the first thing had to do with healing, and what is an injury and what is healing, and those were the beginnings. Okay. Um, Let me ask you, Sam, are there any sessions where you aren't in some way aware of wincing and flinching and startles? I'm not saying
No.
is it possible. Right, exactly.
No.
You could be
I mean,
having a terrible day. You could be, your personal life could be like rough, whatever it is. But there is no way that you can
mhm.
do a session without knowing about wincing, flinching, and startles.
No.
Right. And Maria and me. And that's it, Sam. And that's it. Now, consider what I'm saying. Keep in mind how hard Erik is trying. He is already a better therapist than most therapists will ever be. But he doesn't sit in a session and have that constantly there like air. I'm not telling you force yourself. That would be horrible, Erik. You would be lost. You're doing fine as you are. But I can't sit without watching. It's not watching. I can't sit without noticing wincing and flinching and startles. And that's the basis of emergence. Because what are you emerging from? A startle. You can't have an epiphany without having been so painfully hurt in the mind that the mind goes blank when you try to recall the pain. That's what you're emerging from. Well, nobody's going to remember their inability to remember. It just doesn't happen. So the word emergence comes from emerging from a startle. And startles and emergence are the basis of every other thing I've discovered. But you're repeating experiences, Erik. You have had the experiences happen to you from me, from Sam, some from on your own, like what Sam said about reading the emails.
Oh yeah, nobody was there for that, uh-huh. You just reported that shit after.
Right. So this, you are like in the 1 billionth of 1% of the 8 billion people on the planet, Erik. That you will not just do the work, but that you even have the ability to have those on your own, that you have enough belief that you just keep looking. And in order for you to do that, you had to get past your linear logical mind. You had to see things like the hydrogen and oxygen, they have no wetness, like the texts, the emails in and of themselves. They're not designed to give you ahas. You did a spiritual activity by doing that. You were suffering. How many people want to go to therapy to suffer? Nobody. I can say this is one of my most qualities I most admire about Hannah. She is a person who will go to any lengths to try to understand herself. It's similar to you, Erik. She just suffers and suffers and suffers to try to understand. And so do you.
Not me. No, thank you.
And me, the point for it for me is underneath it all, I am so um, convinced. I have so much evidence that the way out of the suffering is emergence. But now, when somebody says, "Well, what does that mean?" How the hell do I tell them? I can say I stay with the suffering. You stayed with the suffering in reading the emails, Erik. Okay, but does everybody who stays with the suffering have an aha? Not even remotely.
No, if that was the case, then exposure therapy would heal 100% of clients
That's right.
with no exception.
That's correct.
But it doesn't heal 100%. But it heals a good chunk, and it's the people that stay with it, that the person doing the exposure actually connects to them while they're doing the exposure. All these like things that we could explain, you know, in a different way.
I could say this, the simplest thing. Let's take somebody years ago, the emergence group used to meet here in my house. One of the people had a arachnophobia,
That's a bad one.
fear of spiders. Right, Sam says it's a bad one. It's
That's a
painful.
bad one.
Okay.
There's spiders everywhere.
I over on the wall over there, there used to be an air conditioner because there wasn't a window. There used to be an in-the-wall air conditioner over there, and a little piece of it stuck into the room, like about 4 inches, like whatever of the thing in the room. So this woman, who at the time probably was 30, maybe, okay, I noticed a piece of black thread on the carpet. Picked it up. I arranged it to look like a spider. I put it on top of the air conditioner before she arrived. Now, she didn't notice it, and we're talking, and the group is talking, and this and that. And at some point, I said, "Do me a favor, go walk over and tell me, is there something on that air conditioner?" Now, look at what just happened to your face, Erik. That's the piece that you have that you can't teach. What just happened to you? You weren't even there. I didn't even know you then. Look what just happened to you. You understand the process of that I'm describing. You understand it. That can't be taught. The person has to see it, and they have to see more than just have a benefit to them. They have to see that there is a way that happens. What
When
happened?
you say, okay,
She freaked out. I can picture this. This is 25 years ago at least. I can picture this. She freaked out. I had her sit down. I did not move the thing. I said, I'm going to protect you from this. I did things I know to do. I had her close her eyes maybe 10 minutes later, and I can vividly picture what she told me. She was 6 years old. She went into her grandmother's barn, and a spider dropped out of the darkness onto her. I take her through this slowly. I'm certainly not doing it as long as I did it then, right? I have her open her eyes. She's a little better. And I said, could you walk over to the air conditioner and tell me what's there? She said, it's a piece of thread.
Mm.
Now look at the difference in her mind. Somebody could say, well, she didn't look closely. No, she looked closely. She was hypervigilant. She saw a spider. She saw the spider. Was it literally a spider? It functioned as if it was literally a spider for her mind because she saw a spider. I do the thing, the scene emerges. That's where the word comes from. She walks over and she sees crumpled up black thread. You both understand what I just said perfectly. For you, Sam, this is just
Oh,
like
I
saying,
can picture like personal examples where I think sticks are snakes. I mean, I understand
God,
well, not
how
all,
crazy
but a
was
lot
it
of it.
too that was what I even brought that up yesterday about Tom being seen.
Yes.
And he literally did something like that at Duncan with us with the crack with the hole in the
With the
wall.
yeah.
yeah, you had to take a picture of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, I think the thing I'm left with right now is, you know, I guess a question about why one would hang in and why one wouldn't hang in, knowing, like, oh, I could just go off and do some pretend therapy and no one's well, I mean, I have an answer for myself. Like it's very difficult for me to sit in a session and know the difference between like it having juice and it not having juice. Right? Like I can't like unsee that this provides like
That
very quick
that's right.
connection and facilitates change. But the pain and the confusion and then like, what you said, like I mean I pay a lot of attention to people's bodies. Do I see winces and flinches like you guys? Like no, definitely not.
But
I mean, but
pause, Eric. Go slowly. But the question is, and please don't answer. I'm not asking you. This is rhetorical. Why would a person who is dedicated as you, who suffers as much as you to see this, why do those things, when you're told directly, this is, Sam can't unsee them. I can't unsee them. Maria can't unsee them. They're the guiding principles in what the three of us do. You understand my words right now. This is way more than me writing it on a page. I'm saying the key to every therapy ever devised is watching for winces and flinches, knowing that the startle is what you emerge from. That sentence is everything. The whole
Want to
thing.
add the I want to add precision, all the block markers too. I think even if you can't see wincing and flinching if someone says they hate something or they have no choice, I mean, there's other ways in,
Okay.
not as pure
But
as the
it,
ones you're describing, but
but yes, Sam, yes. But what I'm trying to say is, why doesn't Eric have that in a way you do?
well, this is the thing, Steve. It's like we never had a conversation like this that I can remember.
No, we
So
haven't.
I haven't ruled out that you now told him about this. And when you tell people, the starting point for is always a lot of times where people go like, well, what do I do or something? I go, the first thing is just being aware of what you can't see, like, or aware of what you don't know. Like being coming into being about being a two, I started becoming aware of that I don't know my needs. That's the starting thing. So I'm like, you're telling him this now. I don't know if this suddenly will make that different.
And this is what I am claiming. In order to learn emergence, you have to have some combination of Eric's tenacity and dedication. No, and
No,
intelligence.
I'm. Oh,
No,
I know. I'm laughing because he has
and
tenacity.
and
I like that
Sam,
word.
and and something that is similar to your uh, what happened to you in the hospital, where you let yourself visualize things. The same kinds of things that happened to me, the same things that have happened to Maria, and quite honestly, the same things that have happened to Hannah.
Hmm.
But like you, Eric, I don't think Hannah sits in a session and looks for wincing or flinching. And please, it's not even the word looks. I can't not see it. It's like a magician's sleight of hand trick. Once they show you, you can't unsee it. I can't unsee winces and flinches. I don't pay attention. It's not a paying attention. It's not a trying. It just, it's there. It's emerged in me. And I don't know how that happened at all. And the idea of saying that you have been able to learn some of this and probably you're a one in a million people, I am saying million as a literal thing, Eric. I'm not saying it as a cliche. It means there was something in you before I ever met you, that you already have some ability that's special. Something. A thing that I can't name. I am so I don't even know what it is. I have realized that the people that have not managed to stay, who end up hating me, hate me because I am trying so hard to help them and they will never get it. And the pain that they must feel because they will never get it is horrible. When I told that spider story, Eric, and you smiled, you relived the idea that you know what an aha is. That's what you relived. That sudden surprise on your face. You weren't there. You didn't witness it. You didn't have to. Because as you followed me visually, you had the aha with me. Well, what did you relive? The spider? No, you relived that you have had these and you retain the ability to know when you have it, you can see it. Can you recognize it later? No. Let me not say no. Rarely. If reminded, which Sam brought up, if reminded, I reminded you about the phone call, and then it comes to you. So Nicole is never going to believe you. I'm sorry. I know that hurts. It hurts me as I say it. She's never going to believe you, Eric, because you can see something that normal human beings will never learn to see.
Yeah. I mean, that's literally what she said to me yesterday. At least she acknowledges that.
And that means Nicole has something special about her that she can even say that. That's important, Eric. None of us want to be seen as elitist or think we're hot shit or special or and I don't. But
No,
I
I
don't think
don't
any
either.
human being can understand what it's been like to be me and see all this and be fucking unable to give it away. That a person has to be extraordinary to even get a little. You are extraordinary. This is not flattery. And yet, look at the difference between you and Sam. No criticism about the wincing and flinching. I know, Sam, that you can't unsee that. I know you can't. And
No,
so
no,
many other things. And there are probably things that you see that I don't as a regular thing. Because you have more than enough experiences, and I'm sure that there are patterns that you see that I overlook.
I'm sure there's patterns that we all see that we don't even have any words for.
Exactly.
That's because they don't exist or they haven't, no one's thought of them yet.
Right. And meanwhile, I have 2 million words published, and not one of those things is ever going to give somebody an aha except by accident. Never. It's all written down.
Yeah, and I mean, I grapple. This is like something that can't be resolved in this conversation. But even though there's some things that I'm a big acknowledger and believer in limits, but I can see that this I up to this point, is to be really precise, it's been impossible to teach some aspects of the awareness piece. But that's different. I'm not sure. I do think someone could learn it. I just don't know if I can teach it. Like I learned it somewhere in life, I think, possibly. And so, yeah, that's a differentiation that is takes the pressure off me for sure. But like, I don't know that I could never say that somebody couldn't learn it. I can probably just say that I can't teach it, to be extremely precise.
That's good, Sam. I think that that really is a good distinction. And that is
Yeah,
what we started getting on with. Because, Eric, what you're really saying is, can we put this in a form where you can teach it? That's what you're really saying. And that's
Yeah.
troubling. That is the question.
and that's where I do feel like I can't. The most I can think of watering it down is I can teach a single thing to a person, and not like to see an aha or something, but like something like pairs of opposites or majority socialization, like a single pattern related to, or just people seem to be able to learn that and observe it in themselves, like, oh shit, that's my majority, oh man, that's my, like that can definitely be taught. That can be taught for sure.
But can it be taught? Okay, that's okay. By taught, what do you mean, Sam? What
I
evidence
mean,
does the person exhibit that they have learned the thing you're saying?
just picturing somebody like in a session, like saying something and then going, well, I should probably do that, and then they wait, that's probably just the majority thing. Like very effortlessly noticing a thought and then correctly, you know, identifying the underlying pattern of the, like, just some piece like that. But it's not like they'll, if I said, do you remember when you had the aha that you had majority, you'd be like, no, no, don't remember. Not there, gone.
What
I
do you?
I
Yeah.
I have something to say to this.
Yeah.
I remember I was talking to my sponsee, and it was very clear their husband is seen first.
Remember, this is going to be
Yeah,
online. Okay.
yeah. That's why I'm couching it.
Okay.
Um, and their story first, but they have no idea what the fuck that means, right?
Yes.
So I gave like this whole thing where we went into it and explained it, and I think they got like a gist, right? Like there's a piece, but I had to caution at the end to say, like, look, like I'm suffering so bad about this thing. Like there isn't a day that doesn't go by where I'm in a scene and someone's in a story and I know what's happening,
Yeah.
or I'm in a session and I'm like, oh my God, if I could only just give them the other side, it would get them right out of this, and but I don't know how to do it. That I'm to the point where I'm like, what I'm telling you is barely known. Within myself, and it's very hard for people to have unsettled teaching, right? To be told that what I'm going to teach you is not even something that you can stand on. It's not, I mean, not that you can't stand on it, but the amount of pain that I've gone through about it, I can't give that to them. And that's the part that's fucked up, I think.
So I have a thought right now about this from what you just said, Eric. What if we could teach in a way that people could get that this can't be learned? except by accident, which is true. An emergence is not a deliberate act. An emergence is not a step by step technique. You have an emergence because you, well, for me, because I up the odds by asking the person to picture, by knowing certain patterns.
Yeah, I mean, this is that article that Eric was reading by Rogers, where he wrote this famous thing where it was his idea of like these conditions are where ahas happen. He would not say it. It's not literally what he,
No,
but
no,
it's
but
like
he's paralleling what we're saying. You're correct,
right,
Sam.
right.
But his point was to teach what he does, and my point would be to teach you need to let this go and simply put yourself in these kinds of situations knowing that in all likelihood you'll never have an aha except by accident. That's the piece, Sam, that people want to believe that there are steps, knowable steps that they could take.
Linear. Yeah, I
Yes.
understand.
This is what
Well,
people
people
want.
want to believe there's linearity. They also want to believe there's no limit, meaning that everyone can learn anything, anyone could change anything.
Yes.
I mean, these are really like, and they're sweet ideas that I desperately wish were true. And they may be true, but they're may be true beyond Earth or something, or beyond being a human. But humans have fucking hell. There's certain things I could never learn. I mean, I'm never going to be able to learn them
And
because
so
of aspects of my personality,
the
you know?
most painful thing of this conversation of an hour and a half is watching the difference between you, Sam, and you, Eric, and how hard, Eric, you're trying. And there are pieces that you will have to acknowledge or not that Sam can do without effort. And I do not know how that happened.
But yeah, and those
And yet,
experiences
wait,
exist.
wait,
Go ahead, go ahead,
wait.
go ahead,
And
go
yet,
ahead.
at the same time, Eric, there are things that you know that are far more than you can recognize. When you just, in a very natural way, you've seen story and talk about it, that's emerged in you. That pattern is in you, Eric. You can see this without effort. You
Mhm.
can, in the room, watch Seeing Story now in a way that Sam and I can watch wincing and flinching. And that really is not in any way small. I've been seeing that's the most accessible part of emergence. But you have that in a natural way. But the piece that the person has to have it overall, including you, is you have to have seen yourself have an aha and see the significance. When I brought up the story about the phone call with you, you remembered it. When I brought up the story about the spider thing with the thread, you didn't remember it. You relived an aha that you've had. You understand the experience that the woman must have had.
You saw the significance. It wasn't just like an empty
In other
story of
words, it's a
nothing.
natural thing in you. From if I talk about somebody having an emergence and you picture it, you will relive the surprise that you first had. That piece of being able to recognize the pleasant surprise in an emergence in yourself, that piece is unteachable. But it happened to you. I didn't say no one can learn it. I am saying it can't be taught. But
Yeah,
in
so you
few
what I'm
people,
saying. Yeah, yeah.
it can happen. It's happened to you, Eric. And you're having the pain that I had when my first years, where I was having to acknowledge I can't teach this.
Yeah.
One of the things I hate about teaching, that there's things you can't teach. It's fucking horrible. It's annoying, really annoying.
I mean,
And
and
some,
you know what really drives this though, Steve, for me is just how like how fucking awful my experience has been outside of this school.
Uh,
And not
in what way, Eric?
you mean
like
like with school learning?
Yeah, like not for lack of trying. Like there's a lot of caring people that drove
That's
me to
right.
even get
That
into education.
and that's so important.
There's
But
so
I've
many
been
good
saying
people.
that you're one of those people who not only makes all the effort and you're genuine, but you have actually got some of it.
Hmm.
You've got some of it. And Eric, if I'm right, a very, 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 very small amount of people will be people that you can pass this to. But what Sam is saying is really also important for me to keep in mind. The fact that I can't teach it doesn't mean that someone can't learn. This may occur at a time where I'm long gone and whatever, but I can say with 30 plus years of this, th- look at the size of our community. I think right now, finally, it's kind of pared down to people who actually all have gotten pieces of this.
You know, the other piece that is we're not focusing on, but that can't be taught is the spontaneous effort. That piece also, you can't teach someone. You, c- I can't transmute or transmit effort to another person. You know what I mean? Like Eric, that part is like that's another thing I hate about teaching is that you can't.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like I've spent a lot of time trying to get people to like find the energy to make effort, or I don't even know how to say it in words, but
Yeah,
it
to
doesn't
motivate.
usually,
Right,
yeah,
to
yeah.
motivate
And then
people.
there's a few exceptions, like people that are very depressed and then they become undepressed and then they have access to energy or something like that. But but yeah, that's another one.
I mean, Sam, I when I hear how many books that you've read about therapy, and I feel like, like, and Steve, you as well, and John and Jeremy, and just like, you know, but I also feel like, well, first of all, yeah, that effort thing, right? Like how
Right.
amazing
Yeah,
and how
I mean,
like
you think of
possible.
the effort it differently, each person differently, but you think of the
Different
effort
concept.
that Jeremy has had to make about seeing, looking back and seeing all the things that he couldn't see and how it has painfully affected his life. The
Right.
effort to look can't be taught.
Yeah, it's like the emails. Yeah, it's can't be
It's
taught.
just sheer courage. The
Yeah.
effort of John to read all the books multiple times. No one has ever done that. I haven't done that.
No, I mean John, I'll never read
John's
as much as
effort
John's
about
read.
the reading and trying, oh my God. And there's
Yeah.
nobody who hasn't made tremendous effort that's remaining. Nobody. I mean, I think of the effort that Sarah makes about week after week after week trying to see past things that she can't see. Tom, like, look at Sam. You know what Tom said on Saturday?
Mm-mm.
He admitted in a little boy face that he had a dream about this, that he wants to win a Nobel Prize.
That's so cute. I love that. That's so sweet.
But the genuineness of it,
I
John,
love
it wasn't just like some silly, whatever.
I understand that.
This is
Yeah,
a
yeah.
real thing to him. Think of the motivation that comes from a person having that dream.
That's amazing. That's so
You
sweet.
can't teach that.
No.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about the group on Saturday and like, watching Athena in my head and Linda in my head especially, just how much effort was going into coming online, to
That's
being
right.
online,
That's right.
to remaining in connection despite like all the shit. Because I feel like that's part of it too, like with myself, is there's all this shit that I've been since meeting you that I brought to the relationship that's like, you know, crowds out some of the experience, right? The ability to experience things like at the level of where they're actually at. That was one of the things I discovered in the emails was just like how different I was from then to now in like this,
Right.
you
Mhm.
know,
Right.
like just what I was seeing was so like in my head and generated from myself, not from the actual, like what's actually here right now. Like it was generated from some.
Yeah, like the shadow versus the
Which
reality
is
of the
why you
thing.
made me
Yeah.
burn all my notebooks, because those notebooks were all like that world. Like that fucking world
That's
is where
right.
I lived.
That's right.
Yeah. I know about that.
I mean, every person that's there now, like Clancy, like her courage on Saturday
No, my
to
God. She would
show
have never admitted she was mad at a person like 10 years ago. That's all
it is
unrecognizable to
so
me.
meaningful to me. But who could quantify that level of effort? No one. No one.
I don't, that level of change also.
That level of change, exactly.
Yeah, from like can't get angry, doesn't even think they're angry to like openly saying, "Yeah, I'm pissed.
Yeah.
I gotta go to bed."
So it's not a thing to say, don't keep looking, Eric. It's not at all. What I'm trying to do is help you to narrow down something that is perhaps there is some way to achieve some of it.
Mm,
I'm going to come away from this video having the idea in my head and hope, actually, that these videos are the way. As
mm.
close as we can come right now.
Yeah.
And partly because they're organic, which makes them human. You know, there's no organization, there's no script, you know, there's that.
Yeah. No, I actually feel like it could be a good test if we meet somebody who feels the way I did or do right now. Like, there's just such a lonely, like, here's a bunch of ideas that don't necessarily even work for most people, but just practice them anyway. And, that's how the counselor is really sort of just thrown into the world. And as we meet people, these videos, that are posted on YouTube, like, I feel like it could almost be like part of the I don't want to say experiment because that's fucked up because they're not part of an experiment, but just like to see like if they're what happens, right? Do they look at it and say, "Damn, like I want to like I'm intrigued, like I'm interested, like I want to generate the motivation to learn more about it, to be curious." Um, and not so much like I guess the other thing I'm left with when I think about everybody in our community, like and how because it's fractal, they all have their own sort of
That's
like
right, Eric. There's not one person in the community that's the same. Each person is their own fractal humanity, their own whatever pieces that they get of it. So, for instance, take Linda. She may be the person who has the least ability to teach theory. Yet she goes to work in the place that she was at previously, and within the first week, all the male residents are asking, can we have her as a therapist? This is the evidence that the person has ingested and incorporated some of these pieces. Like I was just saying, Sam, that Linda may be the person who.
I hear. I've heard. I
Okay,
heard.
you
I've
heard it.
followed.
Okay, good. So, and yet, that's not the point. The point that is that Linda's changing lives. Period. Sarah, who has had stuff going into her for 15 years from me, like about character type, her brother being body first, these things. Those pieces are in her solidly. She's already doing groups where everybody around her sees her as like there's something special. But were somebody to say, this is there something special about her? They might just say, well, she just has some natural talent, and they would dismiss it and say she doesn't have enough experience. Meanwhile, she's doing things that none of them will ever do in their whole careers already. Jeremy, like, think about him running groups with you, Sam. Like, there
Yeah,
are,
some of my best memories. Yeah.
yeah, like, those aren't things that people do.
No.
So all of the people who have ingested this stuff in the community, everybody has some special ability that's emerged in them from being exposed to this, an ability to affect other lives.
Yeah. Well, going back, because like I feel like one of the ahas I had today was when I said the thing about the comb, because I had thought of Bruce Lee saying it's like the finger pointing away at the moon. Don't miss the moon for the finger. And like, I mean, I could talk for an hour about how that represents my experience with emergence, my experience with you, my experience being a therapist. Like that idea is so fractal. And if you have a community, if you look at it like from that Zen perspective that I thought of earlier, it's like uh the best teacher can't even give enlightenment away. Like
That's correct, Eric.
can't, like, they hit him on the head, they give him all these like insanely like complex like words that break people's brains on purpose. They do all this stuff, and like maybe 1%, 2% of the people that come to these teachers
That's right.
actually get it, and the rest benefit from being around somebody who's that spiritual, and being part of the I'm just going to sweep the floor because that's all I can do in this community, and that helped me feel better. So I mean, I don't know what that means, but it helps contextualize it a little bit, that what's happening isn't like, if this then that, right? If you read this book 12 times, like, you will.
If it was this then that, every single Buddhist monk would be enlightened, whatever the fuck that is.
So, do you know that, like in the last few minutes, this is the hardest part for me to. I try to tell every person who wants to learn this, you're going to suffer terribly.
You two try to tell them.
It's useless. Look at the suffering that you, Eric, how many times have I said to you, learning this, you're going to suffer? I don't mean it's hard to learn it. I mean, yes, but it's hard to know it and not have an ability to share it. It's hard. It's painful. And yet, the irony is, every 3-year-old child gives themselves emergences all day long. And all of us were 3-year-old children. Every human being. So what is on the university homepage about that we're trying to restore the love of learning is the closest I can come to saying, what is this? I'm trying to get people to be able to have the mind they had at 3, where every day no one has to tell them to study, no one has to tell them to learn. This is their nature.
Yeah, I mean, babies, when they wake up, you don't go, okay, go learn about the world. They're just
No, they
literally
can't.
can't stop.
They literally can't stop. And so my hope is that in some way that we can get there. That's my
Makes
hope.
sense. It makes sense. There's like a sect of Buddhist monks that part of their training is they have to go spend all day, every day with 2-year-old, 3-year-olds, and that's all they do. They just hang out with them. That's it.
And do you think that it's a coincidence that that's a
No,
large part of why what I have gotten all my theories from sitting and watching young children?
I get it. I mean, Piaget arguably has had more fucking patterns about human nature, um, and epistemology from just studying children.
So in some sense, Eric, the goal becomes, can you get a person to be 3 years old again?
Mm.
Because the idea of their heads are filled with all this competing information is a part of the problem, including that memorizing is learning, that the world is linear, that, you know, everything can be taught. That idea that everything can be taught is false. You
Yeah.
can't teach a spiritual experience. It's a personal, unique to each person thing.
I know, one of the things that helped me, anytime I start getting into that thing about anything, if I have those thoughts of like limitless or anything can be taught, I just think about how I could never learn how to control my drink. I am so fucking smart in a certain way. In another way, I'm so dumb. But I was never smart enough to control my relationship with any drug or alcohol at all, and I had to give up because I was not smart enough. I could not learn how to control it no matter how many times, you
And
know.
I could say, Sam, as a oversimplified thing is, it took me many years to realize that the attraction part, the piece that it seemed like something so desirable, and the aftermath part, the thing that made me say I'd never want to do this again, until I saw that there was a space in between them where we go blank. I never understood how a smart person could go from there to there. We go blank. And this is
Yeah,
why you can't remember the emergence, because in order to have the emergence, you have to go from the symptoms to the aha, but you have to go across a field that's blank. So the mind
yeah,
never
I
connects them.
can't fill it. I can't fill the field in. Yeah,
No one can. I can't either. I just
that's why I
know
just have to not
from the
participate in the thing.
outside that
Yeah,
that's happening.
I get it. I think that's what powerlessness is going. I can't do that
You
gap, and so
can't see the blank part.
that's why I haven't gotten high in almost 20 years because I just know I can't do it.
And I had an aha in order to know this from a drunk dream that I had where I could see that I had or I dreamt I was at a wedding. I am having the urges. People keep saying, have a drink, have a drink, have a drink. And then in the next memory in the dream, I look down at a glass and see I've drank it. And I cannot see the space in between. And I realized, oh shit, the mind goes blank.
So I was stewing on this for a second, and then after you said that, I think when you talked about the suffering, when I look around our community and myself especially, like there's so many pre-learning that suffering is gonna get somewhere, right? Like with recovery,
Yes,
right?
Erik.
Like I suffered this, but it's gonna take me to a spiritual experience,
Yes.
or in all the Buddhist stuff that I've done, where it's like the first thing is suffer. Suffering's like the platform that everything else gets built on, and it's no wonder a lot of us are if not in recovery, like adjacent and connected, and or had some shit happen that, I think it drives a little bit why when you say that we're like, well, we've been suffering through all this other shit. Like, why wouldn't we suffer through this?
But every single person in the community has had a lot of suffering.
Yeah.
Take Jesse, having two parents and a whatever, right? His childhood was so hard. He not addiction for him and this or that, but I think the suffering, the amount of suffering that you have to really know the face of suffering and face it, not just endure it, but face the suffering. I think that that's a piece that people don't want to believe it's necessary. But at the same time, if you read somebody like Thomas Merton, um, he's writing that the more you suffer, the closer you get to God.
Oh God, and he suffered for real.
And so, how about seeing past that? Now, I'm not saying I really know Merton's mind, but what he writes probably is not what he knew. What he writes is probably only the pale imitation of what who he really was. And so there's no way to even know who he was.
Frankel comes to mind immediately.
Well,
Like the level of
exactly.
suffering was like
Think of that, man.
insurmountable amounts
That's
of
right. And
suffering.
how did that turn into him wanting to give the world something?
Right.
We don't know.
It's so amazing too because he literally has his definition of therapy is the one that I use the most to overlap with emergence. And he said that therapy is expanding the client's visual field, which is a pretty crazy overlapping definition for us.
And for me, Janae's thing. I mean, he exactly
Well,
like,
he literally referenced wounds and stuff. I mean,
but his description, there were people who say the
yeah,
things,
yeah,
and in all likelihood, they knew things that we know spiritually, the spirit of it, said it with different words, but it can't make it on a page.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
Yep. All right.
thank you.
And
Thank
Steve,
you. Yeah.
you probably know this already, but the first 15 minutes of this has got to fucking,
No, it's yeah. What
yeah,
what
you
was
were,
it? What was okay?
because
Don't
we were
spoil.
just talking about shit that was not related to this
Oh,
at all.
I
It's just not fit. It doesn't
no,
fit.
no problem, Sam.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
Right. Okay. See
All right,
you.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.